Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and if you can believe it, right about now-ish marks the 1-year anniversary of my YouTube channel, which is pretty exciting. So I thought I would do a little retrospective of some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I'm doing and some of the equipment that I use. And yeah, happy birthday! Before we dive in, I wanted to chat a little bit about the history of Humblebee and Me, because I know a lot of you watch me here on YouTube, but you don't necessarily visit the blog, or you didn't find my blog first. So I started humblebeeandme.com back in 2011. And at that point in time, it was really just a way to hold me accountable to keep doing the things that I love. So it was pretty scatterbrained. I published 7 days a week, which was insane. And you would find everything from a series of pictures of my dog, to a cake I made that I liked, to a dress I'd made in like high school that I was sharing some pictures of and some notes on how it came together, and then maybe a lip balm recipe or a sugar scrub. It was quite scatterbrained. It was just all things that Marie likes, and it all ended up on humblebeeandme.com in a pretty small young blog that nobody paid attention to. Even my mom, I think, only gave it a couple visits and then was like, that's nice, Marie. So yeah, a couple years into that, I started narrowing my focus to more just food and skincare DIYs, and I dropped to posting 4 times a week, which was still a lot, but manageable at the time. And then after a couple more years of that, I decided to start publishing 2 times a week, because at that point in time, the amount of comments and emails I was getting was making it impossible to do 4 posts a week and keep up with correspondence like at all. And then also to sort of say, okay, no more food, no more costumes. We are looking at DIY skincare and cosmetics, and my dog photos, those can live on Instagram. She's very cute. Go check it out. So the first thing that I've learned on YouTube is how important presentation is. And I should say this isn't really something I learned on YouTube. I am a professional graphic designer. That is what I studied in university. I have a degree in graphic design. So I am very well convinced that presentation really, really matters. And so I wanted to make sure I was doing everything so that it would look nice and clean and professional and crisp, and it would be high resolution, and you'd be able to hear me and it wouldn't sound like I was yelling at you through like a cardboard tube. So yeah, I made sure I've got some pretty good gear. It's not top of the line. I sometimes see those YouTubers that have like 3 million subscribers and they look like absolutely radiant and everything is so bright and crisp and clean and wonderful and high def that you can count their pores. That's not me, but I feel like I got some pretty good stuff. So I can't show it to you because I'm using it right now, but I'll throw some links into the description box below. But the keys of my setup are my camera. I shoot with a Nikon D750 DSLR. I typically use my kit lens for that, which is a 24-120 f4. It's not an amazing lens. Like, I have some really nice lenses that I use for photography, but I love this one because it has the variable focus length, and pretty much all my other lenses are prime lenses, which means they have a fixed focal length, so no zoomy for those. For lighting, I have 2 softboxes. There's one here, and there is one here, and they are very big. They're about 1 meter by 1 meter, and they're big and they're bright, and they have diffusers over them. So they mean I look bright and shiny even if I'm filming at 2 in the morning, which is awesome. I also use these lights for the photography for my blog. I also use the camera that I film with for the photography for my blog, but I typically use a 40mm f2.8 lens to shoot those. That's a macro lens, and so I can really get in there and be like, check out those bubbles, they're tiny and you can see them. Yeah. For audio, I'm using a little handheld kind of mic from TASCAM. I have it up here. It's on a mic stand. And then I can also attach it to the hot shoe for my flash when I am filming handy things. Behind me, this is just a giant piece of white paper. I got it from a friend of mine who works at our local art college and runs their photography studios. They were replacing their white backdrops, and he was like, hey Marie, do you want a piece of white paper the size of a room? I was like, absolutely I do. And so that's what this is. It's actually attached to a curtain rod. Like, this is a window back here. There's my curtains. And so I just used some woodworking clamps and attached that to the curtain rod, which runs up there. Very MacGyver-y, I thought. And then for the hand things, I have a giant slab of marble, like right here. It actually was an old Earl's patio table. Earl's is a sort of like mid-range family restaurant chain here in Alberta, and this one location had marble patio tables, and then they decided they didn't want marble patio tables anymore, and so they were selling them, and I found them on Kijiji, and I felt kind of ingenious for that because this much marble would usually be extremely expensive, but it wasn't, so yeah. And then it's sitting on IKEA like trestle legs, and it's very, very heavy, so we don't really move this. But that slab of marble is also the things that I do most of my photography on. And then for a tripod, I have an Alta Pro 263 AT. Unfortunately, it's not so good. It broke. I'm not thrilled with it. I think I'm going to have to replace it and with something a little bit better. But the thing that it does, that is the reason I bought it, is that it has a boom arm. So you can put the tripod or your camera on the little head and it'll go up and down, which is nice. But then it will also go so I can film straight down. I've talked to some friends who have seen this and are like, oh, that's so cool. I thought you hung your camera from the ceiling, which would be also very cool. But the boom arm tripod thing is much simpler than trying to suspend my camera from the ceiling. So yeah, that's basically my gear setup. I'm sorry I can't show it to you because literally every single piece of it is in use right now. But I'll link to everything in the description box below so you can check it out if you're interested in perhaps starting up your own YouTube channel. Talk about equipment. One of the pieces of equipment I didn't mention is that I have a TV screen just here. So if you ever catch me looking over here in videos, it's because I'm looking at myself on the screen trying to make sure that I'm still on camera. And it's just an old television screen that I got on Kijiji for about 10 bucks. And when I first got it, I was like, I'm gonna film a makeup tutorial and I don't need to get a mirror because I can use my TV monitor. But I'll tell you what, that's a really bad idea because a TV monitor doesn't mirror you like a mirror does. And so I was sort of in there being like, where's my eyebrows? It was awful. I had to refilm the entire thing. So we call that like lesson number 2. Don't try to film makeup tutorials in a TV monitor. No bueno. Lesson number 3 is that the comment section in YouTube is so poorly organized. It is as if YouTube has designed it to stifle conversation and discussion, and it drives me insane. If you interact with me on my blog or follow my blog, you'll know that I'm really, really diligent about replying to comments. It's really, really important to me. I'm not always fast, but I always reply to everything. As of now, I have replied to well over 13,000 comments on my blog. I really want to answer your guys' questions and interact with you and hear about your experiences with my recipes and help you troubleshoot. This is really important to me. And YouTube is like, haha, too bad, don't care, we're not making that easy for you. So on WordPress, I've got this great plugin, and what it does is it takes all the comments that I personally have not responded to, and it puts them in a bucket. And if I don't respond to them, they sit there forever. So it's not a perfect system. Sometimes I have to fill in a little like, hey, I'm just doing this comment to fool my comment system. I'm gonna delete it. So if you get an email notification, please don't think it's anything exciting comments and then delete them so that a comment that just is like, thanks, doesn't sit in that queue for all of eternity. But it means that I see every comment I get on my blog, right? It's really, really I can't not see a comment that comes on my blog. On YouTube though, what they do is they have a great big, jumbo mother of all comment feeds in the back that I can see as the creator. All the comments had been left on my channel. But they're organized by the date that the first comment was left. So say you leave me a comment on June 1st. Neat. And then say it takes me a week to go through and reply to all my comment batches. So now there's a week worth of comments sitting on top of your comment. But I'll find it because all of those comments have not been replied to yet, and so I'll just keep going, see more, see more, see more. And so you'll get a reply on that first comment. But say then you reply to my reply on your comment, and say you leave that reply on, say June 10th. Your comment is now buried so far below, I'm never gonna see it. And that just, it really irritates me because I've had sometimes people sort of show up and leave a new parent comment that's not a reply, but a new comment on a video and be like, hey, how come you never replied to me? It's because I had absolutely no idea it was there. I'm sorry, YouTube sucks that way. So yeah, if you really want to reply for me, I would really encourage you to actually head on over to the blog if there's an accompanying blog post and leave the comment there. There's also a good chance you'll actually already find your answer there because there's usually a lot more written information and links, and somebody else might have actually just already asked the question. So if you really, really want an answer for your question, I highly recommend commenting on the blog because YouTube comments. Lesson number 4, and speaking of YouTube comments, this is not like a universal thing, but just in general, I have noticed that if I'm gonna get a gross comment about my cleavage or the state of my complexion, it's gonna be on YouTube. It's not gonna be on Instagram, it's not gonna be on my blog, it's gonna be here. I don't know why. What is with people on YouTube being like, hey, I bet that girl doesn't know she has breasts. I should tell her that she has a pair and that I enjoy them. Like, I don't care, I don't wanna know. So yeah, there, cool. New thing about YouTube. My brother tells me that my YouTube channel has the nicest comment section on all of YouTube. So in general, all of you are absolutely amazing, but if somebody is going to say something about my personage that is less than lovely, or some of the things that they like to do with my products that I really don't need to hear about, it's gonna be on YouTube, so yay. My next lesson isn't really something that new, it's just something that continues to prove to be very important, which is to be reliable, to reliably produce high quality content and publish it when you say you will. There are a lot of dead channels on YouTube, and I don't want to be another one of those, and I also don't want to be mistaken for being another one of those because I sort of erratically publish content. So I try to be extremely diligent about publishing content here and on my blog. And so on my blog, you will find posts every Monday and every Thursday that come out at about 6 a.m. Mountain Time, and here on YouTube, everything comes out on Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 a.m. Mountain Time, but sometimes I bump that a day forward so that they can go out with an accompanying blog if I'm releasing a blog and the video of that project at the same time. So yes, if I want you guys to rely on me, I have to be reliable. So that is super important and something that's really important to me. So I use the scheduling feature a lot so that I can make content ahead of time and upload it. So I always know that I have something for you guys. I've noticed that YouTube seems to draw a lot more one-off visitors, people who will watch 1, maybe 2 of my videos and have never seen anything else I've ever done and have never visited my blog. And I need to get better about creating context around a lot of the things that I say and do in videos. For instance, in a recent video, I mentioned my highlighting moon drops, which I did a blog post and a video post on, and I mentioned them in a way that, one should refer back to them for the next couple minutes of the video to make any sense, assuming that everybody would know what I was talking about, and that's kind of ridiculous. Like, just because this is my life and I'm obsessed with it doesn't mean that any of the rest of you are. So I need to get a lot better about providing context for these things and assuming that every video that somebody watches could very well be the first thing that they've ever seen from me. And so assuming that they're familiar with everything I've ever done is a little ridiculous. So sorry about that. I'll try harder in the future. A really big change for me, sort of transitioning or adding on to written content with photography, is the surprising element of what I look and sound like. This is not something I was really expecting to be a huge factor, which is probably like a little naive. As soon as I actually got into it, I was like, I'm gonna film a video today. I guess I should probably take a shower and put on some makeup and comb my hair and actually like put some effort into how I look, which is just something very, very different from when you're making a blog post and you're taking pictures of things, because unless it was a makeup blog post, like, you weren't gonna see me. And so when it came to styling those things, I would spend all my time, sprinkling dried herbs and artisanal salts around my projects in their cute little jars on artistically textured surfaces to make for a really nice picture. And me, I would probably be in my pajamas behind the camera because it didn't matter, right? So here we are. And then the other half of it is my voice. So I did have a couple people initially like, I thought you were British because you use the metric system, but now I know you're American because you talk like an American. I talk like a Canadian. I am Canadian, just for future reference. And so I thought that was kind of funny. People obviously had their own ideas about what I would sound like, and then I shattered those. And then pronunciation. Like the number of times I've been standing right here filming something and then it has occurred to me as the word is like falling out of my mouth that this is a word I have read 1,000 times but never once said out loud. It's like, oh, I hope that was right. So Elantoin and kaolin clay, still can't get it right, are two of those big words for me, which is sort of like, oops. And I know, I have looked them both up many, many times. I've now looked them up so many times that both pronunciations are permanently stuck in my brain and I don't remember which one is which. So, yay, I'm trying. Another lesson I've learned is how loud my house is. This is something I never paid attention to before when I wasn't doing a bunch of audio recordings, but it really hadn't occurred to me. And then I would be filming and my furnace would kick on and it would sound like I was holding a dragon hostage in my basement and it was having an asthma attack in the final audio. I was like, poop. That's not exactly the audio experience I was going for. So I took to turning my furnace off while I was filming, and then it was the end of January, I believe, I totally forgot that I turned my furnace off, went out for the night, and came home and it was like 9 degrees in my house because it was minus 30 outside, Celsius, for anybody wondering. And, so that was a fun lesson. Now Marie just turns the furnace down to like 15 degrees instead of turning it off because, that was one extremely uncomfortable evening spent in not recommended. Okay, well, those are my lessons from my first year on YouTube. I don't think there's anything too terribly profound in there, but that's been my experience, and hopefully you found it useful or informative, or at least got some of your questions about the sorts of gear that I use answered. I look forward to this YouTube-y adventure continuing. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, check out my blog. There is so much more content on my blog than there is here. I have 5.5 years of blogging under my belt and I've only been here for a year. So if you're looking for a recipe and you don't find it here, go look on my blog. Like it's probably there. There are well over 900 posts on humblebeeandme.com. So there's loads and loads and loads of stuff for you to discover. And there's also a free DIY for beginners e-course that you can sign up for that has exclusive YouTube videos and printable PDFs that will guide you through getting your start in DIY skincare. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. This has been a great first year, and I will see you next time.